Item number 6, 2016-2017 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Annual Action Plan, and the 2015-16 CDBG Annual Action Plan Amendment. This will be presented by Arnoldo Rodriguez, our Development Services Director.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Council. Arnoldo Rodriguez, Development Services Department. The item before you this evening is the 2016-2017 annual plan report that's required to be submitted by HUD for our CDBG program. In the way of background purposes, the city of Yuba City is an entitlement city, and what that simply implies is that based on our local needs, we receive funds on an annual basis once they're appropriated by Congress. In the existing fiscal year that we're in today, we received $566,000. In terms of the upcoming fiscal year, we've been informed that we're going to be receiving $580,000, so around a $14,000 increase. The intent of the actual CDBG program is to provide decent housing and to act as an economic engine to help encourage economic development in impoverished neighborhoods. On an annual basis, city staff comes before the city council, one, to adopt the action plan, and the second one would be the CAPER report. The CAPER report provides a summary of all of the activities that the city engaged in for the previous fiscal year. So there is a little overlap. So today we're here for the 2016-2017 action plan. In September, we'll be coming back to the city council for the 2015-2016 CAPER report. So again, there is a little bit of overlap. In terms of allocating the CDBG funds, the city does have discretion. However, we have discretion within parameters. So with that being said, there's a couple of maximums and minimums that I'll be highlighting in a few minutes. But generally, the items usually include housing activities, rural property investments, economic development, program administration, which has a cap on it of 20%, and public services, which has a cap of 15%. Also, just for additional background, earlier this year, HUD representatives did come and they did meet with the city, and they highlighted a couple of goals and a couple of activities or strategies that they encouraged us to evaluate. They understood that for the existing or for the annual plan that's before you tonight, it would be challenging simply because of timing. However, moving forward, there are certain activities that they strongly encourage us to evaluate. A couple of just really quick overviews. One of the things that they indicated is that it's their preference to have larger grants for subrecipient grants rather than smaller subrecipient grants, and the reason for that is scales of economy in terms of the administration of those costs. And then also they largely favored public improvements or rural property improvements. For example, the installation of curb gutter sidewalks, the act of acquiring rural property for future development rather than some other activities which are probably a little bit more social service based rather than rural property improvements. So again, in the upcoming annual plan, we're anticipating on receiving approximately $580,000. Of that, we placed out a request for proposals earlier this year. In response to that, we received a total of 21 applications from local nonprofit organizations and agencies, totaling about $1.1 million. So again, we're going to be receiving $580,000, but in terms of our request, they exceeded over $1 million. So while every grant application receives merit, unfortunately, we simply cannot afford to provide funds for all 21 applications. So in terms of allocating the funds, one of the things that we did is we did hold an informal meetings with local service providers where we discussed the program. We provided a synopsis of our meeting with HUD back in February, and then we also provided a Q&A session with potential subrecipients. And at that, we reviewed at the staff level, along with one of our consultants or two of our consultants, we actually sat down and we did review the 21 applications, and that's how we prepared the annual action plan that's before you this evening. So with that being said, in terms of allocating dollars, again, there is a cap, both minimum and maximum, in terms of how dollars are allocated. For public services, there's a maximum of 15% of our total grant application, which again is $580,000 that can actually be allocated towards public services. Public services are largely programs that are oriented towards providing services for indigent families or community members, and the overall cap on that of the 15% is $87,000. We did receive grants requesting a total of $140,000, and again, unfortunately, we can only allocate $87,000. So the 5 agencies that we are proposing that do receive grants on the overhead, it would be Bridges to Housing, Central Valley Homeless, the Salvation Army, Hands of Hope, and Yuba City Continuum of Care. Staff is proposing that we allocate 65%, or roughly $377,000, for community development type projects, and of that, some of those are for ADA improvements, both to City Hall, to Garden Highway, and additional ADA improvements throughout our community, and then also a total of 5 different housing programs that would total $122,000. Within that $122,000, there is some dollars that the city applied for different programs here in our community, where we would actually assist low-income community members make improvements to their property. And there's also a cap of 20% for planning and admin costs, which equates to $116,000, and we're also proposing that we use the full 20% for that. So as part of the action plan, we have a companion request this evening, and that's to make an amendment to the existing annual plan that we're in today, and that would be to reallocate approximately $40,000 of unused dollars from both the from the administration and the neighborhood administration program for additional city hall improvements, specifically for ADA improvements. We had initially allocated $20,000, and after retaining a local consultant and going out for bids, we realized that we probably did not allocate enough funds to make certain improvements that we would like to do here at City Hall. So as part of this action plan for the 2016-2017, we are also requesting to make an amendment to the 2015-2016, where we would reallocate the $40,000, and that is within HUD guidelines. Moving forward, in 2017-2018, this is a summary of some of the items that we discussed at the March 22nd workshop, where we provided a broad overview of the CDBG program. There are a couple of activities that we're going to be doing additional research on for future years, and some of those include neighborhood refuse collection programs, a chain link fence replacement program, attempting to establish a paint program for either seniors or veterans, increased code enforcement in certain neighborhoods, establishing a lead-based paint hazard reduction program, potential site clearance, and by that, if a piece of property either has overgrown weeds, if it's dilapidated and we cannot find an owner, which happens on occasion, establishing one of those programs, and then also exploring programs for economic incentives, such as a sign replacement program, and potentially offsetting our hotel occupancy tax. Those are programs that, again, we'll be taking a hard look at in the next couple of months to see if we can actually provide funds in future years for those programs. So with that being said, staff's recommendation tonight to the council is that the council adopt the 2016-2017 annual action plan, to authorize the city manager to execute the application for federal assistance and certifications, approve the funding recommendations as outlined in your staff report, authorize the city manager to execute the operating agreements, and to approve the 2015-2016 annual action plan amendment for the $40,000. So that concludes staff's presentation, and we're ready for any questions if you have any.
Any questions of Mr. Rodriguez before I open it to the public hearing?
Not at this time.
Seeing none, I'll open the item to a public hearing. Any members from the community that wishes to speak to this matter may step to the podium and address the council. Seeing no mad rush, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back to council for any questions, comments of Mr. Rodriguez. Action from the council?
To the mayor, seeing that there's no additional questions or comment, I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommendation for A, B, and C.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.